forbidden before subsequently collapsing again. The universe cycles infinitely between expansion and total collapse.
Okay, so the first one, you've got sun, star, moon. So that's going to be ex matria because there's more than one type of matter there. So put a 2 next to that universe, cosmic A. It says infinite too. It says infinite universe. That means that it did not have a beginning. So there's 2 choices there. There's either ex matria or eternal building block. And eternal building block would be there's just one something, and it doesn't clarify that there. All right, let's look at the Anaxagorian. What's that? Anaxagorian.
Anaxagorian universe. In the 5th century BC, Greek philosopher Anaxagoras believed that the original state of the cosmos was a primordial mixture of all its ingredients, which existed in infinitesimally small fragments of themselves. This mixture was not entirely uniform, and some ingredients were present in higher concentration than others, as well as varying from place to place. At some point in time, this mixture was set in motion by the action of nous, mind, and the whirling motion shifted and separated out the ingredients, ultimately producing the cosmos of separate material objects, all with different properties that we all see today.
Okay, the key word on this type of universe is what? Ingredients. So ingredients is more than one ingredient, right? So that would be ex matria because you've got superior, inferior ingredients. If they're the same ingredients, then it's ingredient. Go back there. All right, let's read the Optimus universe, the Thomas universe. Go ahead.
The Thomas universe. Later in the 5th century BC, the Greek philosopher Meniscus and Democritus, I'm just calling them L&D.
Democritus, you should know Democritus.
Founded the school of atomism, which held that the universe was composed of very small, invisible, indestructible building blocks known as atoms, from the Greek atomos, meaning incredible. All of reality and all objects in the universe are composed of different arrangements of these eternal atoms and an infinite void in which they form different combinations and shapes.
Okay, so it's infinite, but we have different types of atoms that fall back into ex matria because you've got different. We don't know if gold is superior to sodium. And this view, because his view was you could not divide gold. Gold was undividable according to the Thomas view, right? Democritus, what's significant about Democritus in my mind? Democracy. Now, Democritus and Aristotle did not get along. And who's Aristotle the father of? What's Aristotle the father of?
Aristocrats?
Biology. So if you go back to biology, Aristotle is considered the father of biology. Now, Aristotle had a lot of influence because he's considered the father of biology, right? And he was living at the time of Democritus. Democritus and Aristotle disagreed. Aristotle, if you read here, talks about earth, fire, air, and water. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of earth, fire, air, and water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Aristotle.
The main elements. The original elements.
The main elements.
The main elements. That's coming from Aristotle. Now, he had a lot of money, right? So he had a lot of influence, and he was able to get his thinking ahead of Democritus. So who wants to read? Where it says Aristotelian universe? Raise your hand. Right here is your guess. These are your exact measurements. And oftentimes this is very difficult to read because there's some glare going on. So if you guess close to that, always guess to the bottom. You'll have a great measurement. Bang, Jaden. The Big Bang looks back in time for evidence, right? Now what's the problem if you look forward in time? What happens to your evidence if you look forward in time? Raise your hand. What happens with the Big Bang if you look forward in time with your evidence?
It proves it wrong.
It disappears. Because it's going to return back to emptiness. Remember, the end of the Big Bang universe is singularity. It goes back to emptiness. So you look forward in time, all of your data disappears. So you've been writing data, keeping track of everything, right? Look, I'm proving this. And then eventually, it just disappears. Now you have no data, and you have no proof. So proof is about data. If you don't have any data, you really can't prove anything to anybody. That's the big problem with ex nihilo, which is why I disagree with it scientifically, because if you've got all these truths that you say have happened and then they disappear, right? I don't think you have any proof. Big Bang has a timeline, and it goes back in time to find what? Raise your hand. So that's the E for evidence. Raise your hand. Because if you raise your hand, give you points, right? For bell work. You blurted, I can't give you anything. So evidence. So you have data, and you write that data down, right? And if you go forward in time to a point where you see the end, what happens to all your evidence? Because you remember the Big Bang going all the way back to origin, singularity for the evidence. Now what happens if you go forward in time all the way to the end and your evidence? What happens to your evidence?
It's away.
It disappears. So now you don't have any more evidence. And that's a real problem for trying to make your case that what you're saying is true. It can't be trusted, and if you can't trust it, then why are you really, telling everybody about it? Telling people things that can't be trusted. So keep that in mind. It's just another thing to put on Google Chrome, but if you're not here, you can see they want you to measure directly, not upwards, because it's associated with water, because water has what type of characteristic? Okay, close, but it has this like magnetic characteristic, like a magnet. It sticks to stuff, like this magnet is sticking to the file cabinet. Water wants to stick to things. You ever seen water stick to glass? Little bubbles on it? So that's what's happening here. The water is actually being drawn up the side of this glass because it's like a magnet. It's sticking to it. When you pour the water out of this, some water is going to stay in the glass. So we don't want to measure water that stays in the glass. Does everybody understand? So you always want to measure at the bottom of the meniscus because some water will be left in. Now you can try to shake it out, but we're not going to do that because it creates messes. We're just going to follow the meniscus rule. That is measure at the bottom. The paperclip estimation activity. You have 3 rulers. You're going to place the paperclip on the first ruler and take a measurement. You're going to place the paperclip on the second ruler and take a measurement. Place the paperclip on the third ruler and take a measurement. Now the first ruler, we're going to say it costs $10 because it's less precise. Second ruler costs $100, more precise, and the third ruler costs $1,000, the most precise. Now on the back, we've got more practice of this, and we'll go over it here in about 2 minutes. We'll give you an opportunity to make some measurements. If you have an expanding universe from one point, it would look like this up on the board. Most physicists have observed that that's not the case, that the universe is actually expanding from multiple points. Like you see up here. So keep note of that. So your data for the 3 measurements of the paperclip are on the board. And we need to remember that every measurement requires one estimate or guess. So if you look at the paperclip compared to the ruler, you'll see that the first one, you've got a lot of estimation happening there because there's no line telling you exactly what the length of the paperclip is. So if you said 5, you are correct because this would be an estimate. Now the next one, you put the paperclip on there and you see that it goes past the 4. Now this is going to be on your test tomorrow. There'll be a question like this. I emailed a copy of the study guide to you through Infinite Campus so you can practice on that. 25 questions will be similar, just in a different order from that. So the first one, we have that 4 there. Everybody see how that 4? That would be a known. That's not an estimate. So this is your known. You could say 5, that would make your known there. Maybe you edit a little bit out a little bit. But you have one known, now you have to take an estimate. So this right here would be your estimate. So this one is correct, and so is this one. Both of those answers are correct. It could be either 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. You always have to give one estimate. And then the last one here, we have the most precise ruler. And it's going to show us 8. But there's a blank between 4.8 and, like here's the 0.8 and here's the 0.9. So you have to guess between the two of those. So you have to say 4.80 or 4.79. These both would be correct if you said the estimate, but you didn't, so they're wrong. All 3 of these are wrong. You're always required to give one estimate. You must give that estimate, or you're not measuring properly. Now let's take a look at the famous. Anybody know why Democritus is famous?
It says right here that he founded the school of optimism.
Okay. Heard of democracy? Democracy comes from Democritus. So he's a pretty famous guy from that perspective. At the time, though, Aristotle had more influence. Aristotle was an academic person. Now, if you want to make it up in the higher academics, typically you have to have a little bit of financial background, some money, because you're going to have to typically hire a tutor to help you through some of the material. Darwin's dad was noted to have written some of his papers for him. So Aristotle had a lot of money, he had a lot of influence, and Democritus didn't have that. So even though he was correct in his thinking about the atom, that there are atoms, he wasn't supported. Aristotle was, and the earth, fire, air, and water. So Aristotle kind of pushed this thinking for like 1,800 years until John Dalton came along, an English school teacher, read about Democritus and decided to set up some experiments. So that's the significance of Aristotle, is that he was also the father of what? What'd you say? No, you had it last year. Starts with a B.
Biology.
Raise your hand.
Biology.
Yes, very good, Brendan. So, biology. He's the father of biology. With the graduated cylinder, you'll see the 10, and then you see the 5 marks, takes you to 15. You see the extra one, there's 16, so 16 is right here. That would be your exact measurement. So the guess is between 16 and 17. Looks like around 5, so I'm going to say 16.5 is the correct answer. $16 is the exact, 0.5 is your guess. Moreover, 16 is the exact. Looks like it's in the middle there, so that would be your guess. If you said 16.79, you gave too much information.